Well, Alex, I want to get into this weekend because I feel like there were so many unknowns. The track, what were the tires going to do? What was going to happen? Was it going to be a good race? Was it going to rain? There was so much that was happening, and then as soon as the race starts, everything kicks off with Will Power and what happened there, and I didn't know that until obviously about 40, 50 laps in the race. They're like, oh yeah, Will Power's already a lap down. And I was like, what? I was like, what happened to him? Like, I knew he was slow at the beginning because I passed him, but I just thought his tires were going off. So put the whole weekend in perspective just to start. How were you feeling before? How were you feeling after qualifying? Because again, right in the hunt, but there was penalties, all kinds of stuff. And then once you got into the race, give us kind of like a 3-stage perspective of how the weekend was going for you.
All right, let's go. So obviously heading into Nashville, it was, I was excited. I was anxious just to get into the weekend, try and see if I liked the track, if I didn't like the track, try and see if we could be up front. And then I would say a week before at the race, they called me and they said, Alex, we have bad news. We need to change the engine. And I was like, oh no, maybe that's not exactly what we needed, right? It's 9 positions on an oval that I've never been on. And I didn't qualify very well at any ovals this year. So anyway, get to the track. The weather's looking terrible, which I didn't know if we're going to race on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Are we going to race at all? It looked really bad at some point heading into, horrible. I thought we were not going to race at all. But anyway, we got practice in fastest somehow. I don't know how, but I was fastest. Didn't cheat or anything like that. That was purely fastest lap time. And I was like, let's go, man. It's going to be great. Anyway, we have a delay in practice, final practice and so on. I head into qualifying thinking I'm going to get pole or I'm going to be top 5. This is going to be great. So I go first lap, car doesn't feel like practice. Second lap, I can barely do turn 3 and 4, which are right there. And they say on the radio, okay, Alex, P15.
Oh, tough. I was even surprised too. I'm not going to lie. I was also surprised.
P15. And I was like, is it P15 with the penalty or without the penalty? And they said, no, it's P15 and then +9. So anyway, I had to start P24. The good thing that inspired me that only you and I know, and some people, but you gave me a hard card sign, especially for me, before the race on Sunday. That made a difference. So you can say that I'm a champion because you gave me the inspiration.
Got a trading card.
I do like that. We did exchange trading cards at the autograph session. That I'm glad that was meaningful. That did seem to do something, obviously.
Yep.
But coming from the back, let's talk about the race because we had the alternate tires, you had the primary tires. I thought it was one of the weirdest oval races I've ever been a part of. We actually ended up with each other on the track quite often in random sequences all over the map. We ended up finishing 10th and 11th. It was just kind of a weird, but I didn't, at times you thought you were good, and then times I thought I was bad, and then all of a sudden I was trying to save fuel like I've never saved fuel before. I mean, when you first heard that Will Power was having issues where you're like, all right, no matter how crazy this is, I just got to do all the laps, essentially.
Yeah, so it was weird. Obviously we had the tires, which we didn't know. I wanted to get out of the reds as soon as possible. So I started on alternates. And I started going pretty aggressive. I had to make up some moves. I think I made it to P16, 17 in 6-7 laps. So I was like, okay, good. We're making progress. And then suddenly I saw that the 12 was going backwards. I could see, and I was like, okay, I'm
he was really struggling. It was surprising.
It was surprising. But then he pulled on the pit lane and I was like, oh, what's going on? At first I thought, are they going to pull a strategy that I've never seen before in an oval? But then they told me in the radio that unfortunately he had an issue with the bells, which it sounds like, you don't want that when you're competing against one to another. You don't want him to have an issue. At the same time, I had the same in Milwaukee, not with the belts, but with the battery. So I think we were like even now. But it was a crazy race from the get-go, from like lap 12.
Yeah.
What did
I wanted
you
to follow
think?
up?
Go ahead,
real
Chase.
quick
Go
on
ahead.
that. Sorry, but I wanted to ask you because, like, that's one question I had, Alex, was you're a fierce competitor. Like, there's no doubt about that. Does it like really just like let you down when you know that you and Will are in this championship battle and that this happens to him, and now it's like did it suck a little bit of the life out of you knowing that you are going to get to battle him through that whole thing, or was it just more of kind of like, all right, let's just turn it on and get it done?
Well, when I saw that, I was like a little bit more relaxed. Obviously, I was like, okay, this is looking good for us. But at the same time, I was like, man, it's only 3 laps down, I think, at the beginning. And that's just a couple of yellows. Like, actually, I got a bad yellow on like lap 40, and I was like 2 laps down. So I was like, oh man, we need to finish. Yeah. So everything changed so quickly. It was weird. It was a weird race, like you said. So until at the end that I knew that he was not going to be able to recover 4 or 5 laps, I was not calm. I was not relaxed. But yeah, obviously, once I crossed the finish line or getting into there, I was very happy that the championship was ours.
Tell the people what it was like at this track specifically, because I thought it was a very difficult one to drive. Like, us as drivers working a lot, tools in the car, trying to keep the tires underneath us. You know, there were parts of the stints that I would say were somewhat conservative. People just kind of trying to save their red tires, trying to make it a certain amount of laps. But can you explain to folks from your perspective, like, hey, this is what we have to think about on the red tires compared to the primary tires. This is how we have to work, you know, to stay at the track position that we're at, knowing that other people might be coming out of the pits on good tires. I mean, there's a lot that happens during these types of oval races.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the first thing, at least for me, it was the first time being on a concrete oval, which changes like the feel of the car. It's just very different. I don't feel the same kind of grip, the same load. So it's a bit tougher to feel from a driver perspective. It oscillates a lot. It's not bottoming, but it just, the car and the track oscillates a lot. So it doesn't make you have the confidence in turn 1 or turn 3 to just throw the car in speed. Like, the car is like, let's say, jumping a little bit. So that was the first thing that took a while on me, and also in the race, like, I didn't know how much speed I could throw into. But yeah, then the alternates, I didn't know how much I could push. I didn't know if I could push a lot and then I had to pay it for it later, which it ended up being like that. Or if it
was scary. Those reds, if they went loose, if they were my first stint, we were so loose, and that was the most terrifying stint I think I've done all year.
Me too. Yeah. But it went from like being okay the first 25 laps to then suddenly the car, you cannot turn the wheel. Like,
saving
you cannot
your life.
even. Yes, it was like saving your life every time that you wanted to turn. And then it was weird that following cars, the car was over rotating more than understeering, which normally I believe that in ovals, drivers, we feel that the car understeers a little bit, it pushes, and you cannot really get close. Here it was the opposite. Like, you would get close and the car suddenly would lose grip on the rear, and you were like, oh, what's going on? So it was actually really fun. I had a lot of fun.